It wasn't always all fun and game. It was a lot of work, but plus there was um, Don. Was Don is he's one of the most creative people I ever met. He was a total fountain of creativity. But sometimes it can be frustrating because while you're sitting there trying to learn something else that he's already given us, he'll come in, stop rehearsal, and give us something for two or three other songs. It's like sometimes our minds were just so crammed with this stuff, it was just mind-boggling. And then plus he would come in and want to have band talks and stuff, which most of the time were totally unnecessary and counterproductive. but but he just had his ways. But I still respect him. I still believe he's going to be one of the artists of the last century to be remembered. Because anything he touched turned to art, whether it was sculpting or painting or music.
He was, in so many ways, for all of his domineering qualities, he was really had this. He could simultaneously give you this kind of Harry Langdon, the old comedy actor thing, this kind of helpless baby quality that he just, I don't know, can you help me here? And everybody would just go, he needs my help. And they would jump in and they would help him. It was an amazing ability to manipulate people. But I think in many ways he was kind of inept. He was kind of like uh, a savant in many ways.
He locked me into a water closet because he kept saying that I was humming C because I had heard the Beatles. And I assured him I had no perfect pitch and had no idea what C was. And he said, yes, you do. And you need to be cleansed of that. So you need to go into this little small closet and listen to Red Cross Store by Mississippi John Hurt over and over on a little cassette machine. Probably had me in there for about 5 hours. I remember just having to listen over and over to Red Cross Store to cleanse myself of C.
Once in England on the dock at the radar station tour, we were in his hotel room, and out of boredom, he hurled a metal ashtray against the wall. And we have a tape of this. You could hear it hit the wall and then wobble very loudly on the floor. He's like, yeah, that's the drum solo, man, in this part that I'm going to give that to Williams. It's a great way of making music. I never met anybody who ever approached music making like this.
There was a song called Carrot is as close as a rabbit gets to a diamond. And I remember him sitting like he made everyone else in the room leave and he wanted to talk to me. And he's kind of like whispered, this was in the studio, he like whispered in my ear and he goes, I want you to imagine that you're a soldier in the Civil War. And everyone, you're a Yankee, and everyone in your team or your infantry has been killed. You're like, and you found this weird little log cabin in the middle of the woods that you're hiding in, and you're in this really cold little bed, and you have a little teddy bear that you're holding, and you can hear the enemies tromping through the leaves, and they're on their way to get you. Now play it. Very much, very much. He was a method, like a method composer. When it came to, the people, and he would do lots of stuff to set up fights between people in the band all the time, trying to make people tense, trying to make people like you weren't allowed to urinate. I mean, it was, not to the point of abuse, but to try and create that tension. And boy, do I appreciate that now. I really appreciate that sound in my own music and other people's music when I hear struggle.
If you like classic weird Beefheart, there's nothing more classic and spooky than a number on there called Cardboard Cutout Sundown, which was actually written first as a guitar piece he called Oat Hate, which I worked on in New York. It was another piano composition that was translated to guitar. And there's a demo of it on a record I did called Improved the Shining Hour, so people could hear the part as a discrete instrumental. And he had me work on that, and then before I came out to join the band for the sessions, he had rehearsals with them where he taught them some stuff. And they learned as a trio a piece that he whistled, and I don't know, the drum part came from the sound of him swinging shopping bags filled with things. Anyway, it was a nice little part. And so that was sort of a discrete part. And when we recorded it, he set us up with headphones, and he just told me to start, when to come in with what I knew, and not to stop. Just play it intensely using his exploding note theory all the way through. Exploding note theory was something that he had explained. It was a certain kind of approach and attack you can hear on the Flavor Bud Living guitar solo that I do on Doc at the radar station. Sort of a real staccato, ack phraseology, very, bombs bursting in air, one note having no relation to the previous note or the subsequent note. So anyway, and then with the band, he'd go, start, stop, start, in their phones. So anyway, it's like I'm over on one speaker doing this manic solo piece, just like playing the hell out of it. There, in another speaker, also in the studio, simultaneously starting and stopping this kind of like happy, sad, little, weird, whimsical piece that he taught them. And at some point in the end, near the end, there's just one amazing moment, like reaching the peak of a mountaintop where the two groupings sync up. The guitar syncs up with the group, and almost in a unison kind of style, play the same motifs or very similar motifs, rhythmically and harmonically. And it's like, how the hell did that happen? There's someone who worked on a PhD thesis who sent me a harmonic analysis and transcribed this whole thing out. And I helped him. I told him what I knew about how it was derived, because he's also astonished at this. I mean, it's unbelievable. And of course, I wanted to know, so when I asked Don, he just said, like I knew. I had it all plotted out. I mapped it out. Maybe he did. But, to teach me, to play a piece on piano, maybe it was played 15 years before that session on the piano, and then to teach a group another piece of music in 1982 is when we recorded that record, and then have the two of us play it simultaneously, and he's directing it when they should start and stop the piece that he taught them, and then have it sync up in a unison passage at the end. You'd have to be pulling a lot of strings, you'd have to really be a puppet master, quite a brainiac, which he was, so,